Listen closely. The fact that these words have entered your ear right now is not a coincidence. It is a sign. There is a deep, profound rearrangement happening in the very foundation of your soul, and whether you have the language to name it or not, your body already knows. You have felt it in the exhaustion that will not lift, in the restlessness that wakes you at 3 in the morning, in the inexplicable sense that everything familiar has become strange. Perhaps you have dismissed this feeling. Perhaps you have tried to medicate it with distraction, with busyness, with the voices of others telling you what you should want. But the disquiet persists because it is not a problem to be solved. It is a call to be answered. What I am about to reveal to you is drawn from decades of work with those who stand at the threshold of radical transformation. I have sat across from countless souls who believed they were breaking down when in truth they were breaking open. And there are signs, unmistakable signs, that indicate you are not falling apart. You are entering the biggest comeback of your life. This is not the comeback the world celebrates, the kind measured in external achievements or social validation. This is the homecoming, the return to the self you abandoned long ago in exchange for acceptance, for safety, for the illusion of belonging. And if you are watching this now, it means the exile is ending. Have you noticed lately how conversations that once animated you now feel hollow? How gatherings that used to energize you now drain you completely? How advice from well-meaning friends lands on your ears like a foreign language you no longer speak? This is not depression, though it may wear depression's mask. This is the great withdrawal, and it is the soul's first act of rebellion against a life that has become too small for what you truly are. The collective unconscious, that vast ocean of inherited beliefs and cultural scripts, operates through a kind of gravitational pull. It keeps us in orbit around shared values, conventional wisdom, familiar patterns of living. For most of your life, you have moved within this orbit without questioning it. You knew the script: get the education, build the career, find the partner, accumulate the symbols of success, and above all, do not deviate. But something has shifted. The gravity has weakened, and now you find yourself drifting away from the very things that once anchored you. Here is what most people do not realize. This withdrawal is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Your psyche has initiated a process of separation because it knows, with an intelligence far older than your conscious mind, that you cannot become whole while remaining tethered to a collective identity that requires you to betray yourself. You may feel alone right now. You may stand at parties and feel like a ghost among the living. You may scroll through the celebrations of others and feel nothing but a strange, aching distance. This loneliness is not a symptom of failure. It is the necessary condition for your return. Individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, always begins with a separation from the herd. The individual must stand alone before they can stand in their truth. And your soul, whether you have consciously chosen this or not, has already begun to stand. Do not rush to fill the silence. Do not panic at the emptiness. This quiet is not absence, it is preparation. The old world is receding because a new one is being born within you. There is a peculiar restlessness that descends upon those on the verge of transformation, and perhaps you are feeling it now. The career that once gave you purpose feels like a costume you have outgrown. The relationship that once provided stability now feels like a cage. The hobbies, the routines, the small pleasures that used to sustain you have lost their flavor entirely. You find yourself staring at the ceiling at night, asking the question that haunts all who stand at the threshold. Is this all there is? Let me be direct with you. The answer is no. But the life you are seeking cannot be found by rearranging the furniture of your current existence. What you are experiencing is the divine dissatisfaction, and it is the soul's way of telling you that you have been living someone else's life for far too long. You see, we come into this world as pure potential, as the totality of who we can become. But very quickly we learn that this totality is not acceptable. We learn that certain parts of us are welcomed and certain parts must be hidden. And so we begin to construct the persona, the mask we wear to move safely through the world. For some, this mask becomes so convincing that they forget it is a mask at all. They live their entire lives behind it, never questioning whether the person they present to the world bears any resemblance to the person they truly are. But you are not most people. Your soul has refused to stay silent. And now every time you put on the mask, you feel the suffocation. Every time you play the role you were assigned, whether it is the successful professional, the devoted caregiver, the strong one who never breaks, you feel the scream building in your throat. This dissatisfaction is not ingratitude. It is not restlessness born of entitlement or immaturity. It is the most sacred discontent you will ever feel, because it is the voice of your unlived life demanding to be born. A person will build what appears to be a perfectly good life, and then one day, without warning, the foundation cracks. They cannot explain it. They cannot justify it. But they know, with a certainty that bypasses all rational thought, that they cannot continue as they have been. And here is the truth that no one tells you. Your comeback is not about going back to who you were before the disappointments, before the compromises, before the world taught you to shrink. Your comeback is about going forward into who you were always meant to become. The dissatisfaction you feel is not a problem to be solved with a new job, a new relationship, a new city. It is a compass pointing you toward your authentic life, and the only way forward is to let the false satisfactions fall away completely. There is an exhaustion that sleep cannot cure, and if you are experiencing it now, you know exactly what I mean. You wake up tired. You move through your days as though you are walking through water. Simple tasks feel monumental, and no amount of rest seems to restore you. The people around you may tell you to take a vacation, to practice self-care, to simply push through, but you have tried all of this and nothing works. The exhaustion persists because it is not a deficit of energy. It is the collapse of the false structure that has been holding you together. For years, perhaps decades, you have been operating according to a blueprint that was never yours. You have been managing personas, suppressing needs, contorting yourself to fit into relationships and roles that required you to abandon essential parts of yourself. And all of this requires enormous psychic energy. The psyche is a closed system. The energy does not disappear when we suppress it. It simply goes underground, into the shadow, that repository of everything we have deemed unacceptable about ourselves. And maintaining the boundary between conscious and unconscious, between the life we live and the life we have exiled, is extraordinarily exhausting. Your exhaustion is telling you that this arrangement is no longer sustainable. The psyche is refusing to continue the charade, and so it is withdrawing the energy that has been propping up the false self, forcing a reckoning. This is the creative illness, the breakdown that precedes the breakthrough. It looks like collapse, but it is actually the dismantling of everything that was built on a faulty foundation. And yes, it is terrifying. Yes, it feels like death, but I must tell you from decades of witnessing this process that this death is not an ending, it is a threshold. The old structure must fall completely before the new one can be built, and your soul in its ancient wisdom has already begun the demolition. Do not fight the exhaustion. Do not shame yourself for your inability to function as you once did. The energy will return, but not to fuel the old life. It will return to build something truer, something that does not require you to betray yourself with every breath. There is a moment in the process when the tolerance for pretense simply evaporates. And if you have reached this point, you know it viscerally. You cannot sit through conversations where people perform rather than connect. You cannot maintain relationships held together by obligation rather than genuine affection. You cannot participate in systems that require you to sacrifice your integrity for advancement. Your body has become a truth detector, and it reacts with immediate, undeniable signals when you encounter anything false. Perhaps you feel nausea in the presence of manipulation. Perhaps you feel migraines after interactions where you had to suppress your true response. Perhaps you feel overwhelming fatigue after days spent playing roles that no longer fit. This is somatic knowing, and it is one of the most reliable indicators that you are approaching the authentic self. The body, unlike the rational mind, cannot be fooled. It knows when you are betraying yourself, and it will no longer participate quietly in your own abandonment. Here is what this means. You are developing an allergy to your old life. Everything that once felt manageable now feels intolerable. The compromises you once made without thinking now register as violence against your soul. And this is not weakness. This is the immune system of the psyche, finally strong enough to reject what does not belong. I must warn you, this often creates the greatest external disruption. When you can no longer tolerate inauthenticity, you will naturally begin to remove yourself from inauthentic situations. Relationships will end, jobs will be left, communities will be abandoned. And to those who remain invested in the old version of you, this will look like destruction. But from the perspective of the soul, it is liberation. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming discriminating. You are not becoming judgmental. You are becoming sovereign. And your comeback requires this fierce protection of your authentic life. The world will adjust to your truth or it will fall away. Either outcome is acceptable, because you can no longer afford to contort yourself to maintain connections that require your silence. You keep seeing the same numbers. You think of someone and they call. You need guidance, and a book falls open to the exact passage that speaks to your situation. Conversations with strangers contain the precise message you needed to hear. The universe seems to be speaking to you in a language of meaningful coincidences. This is synchronicity, and it is not magical thinking. It is the observable phenomenon that occurs when the psyche begins to align with its deeper purpose. The separation between inner and outer begins to dissolve, and what was once experienced as random becomes revealed as meaningful. Here is what is actually happening. For most of your life, you have been living according to the ego's agenda, that narrow, survival-focused consciousness that believes it must control everything. But as you move toward your authentic self, you start to align with the deeper organizing principle of the psyche that has been orchestrating your development all along. This deeper intelligence speaks in symbols, in dreams, in images, and yes, in the apparent coincidences that dot your daily life. When synchronicities multiply, it means the conversation between ego and deeper self is intensifying. You are being guided not by some external deity, but by the wisdom of your own deeper nature. Pay attention to these moments. They are not random. They are confirmation that you are on the right path, even when that path looks nothing like what you planned. They are the universe, or more accurately, your psyche, communicating its support for the transformation underway. Synchronicities intensify most dramatically in the period just before a major breakthrough. It is as though the psyche is sending reinforcements, reminding you that you are not alone in this process, that there are forces at work beyond your conscious control that are supporting your return to yourself. Write them down, notice the patterns, allow yourself to be guided by something larger than your rational mind. Your comeback is not something you must engineer through willpower alone. It is something you must allow, something you must surrender to, and the synchronicities are telling you that the allowing has already begun. Here we arrive at perhaps the most difficult and most essential sign. You are becoming aware of parts of yourself you have spent a lifetime denying. The anger you were never allowed to feel, the ambition you were taught to suppress, the selfishness you were shamed for expressing, the wildness you were told to tame. All of it is surfacing now, and it is not comfortable. You may find yourself having thoughts that shock you, feeling emotions you cannot control, acting in ways that seem entirely unlike yourself. And if you are interpreting this as evidence that you are becoming worse, let me stop you right now. We do not eliminate the parts of ourselves we find unacceptable. We simply banish them to the shadow, that dark twin that carries everything we refuse to own, and there they remain, not destroyed, but growing in the darkness, waiting for the moment when they can return. Your comeback cannot happen without this return. Wholeness is not achieved by becoming only light. It is achieved by integrating the darkness you have disowned, and this integration always begins with the uncomfortable recognition that the person you thought you were is incomplete. The anger you are feeling now, it may be the voice of boundaries you should have drawn years ago. The selfishness you are noticing, it may be the self-preservation you have been denying in service of others' comfort. The pride you have been taught to hide, it may be the self-worth you were never allowed to claim. This process of shadow integration is not optional for those who seek authentic transformation. You cannot reclaim your wholeness by continuing to exile essential parts of yourself. You must descend into the basement of your psyche and retrieve what you left there. This is dangerous work, I will not lie to you. The shadow does not return gently. It often erupts in ways that feel out of control, that damage relationships, that make us question our own sanity. But I must tell you, from the perspective of the individuating soul, this eruption is necessary. The false self must be destabilized before the true self can emerge, and the shadow, with its raw energy and unprocessed truth, is the force that destabilizes. Do not be afraid of what is rising in you. Be curious, be compassionate, and most of all, be willing to own it. The darkness is not your enemy. It is your power returning home. And now we come to the center of the transformation, the place where all who undergo true change must eventually arrive. This is the night sea journey, the voluntary descent into the underworld of the psyche. In spiritual traditions, it is known as the dark night of the soul. You are in it now, are you not? Everything that once gave your life meaning feels hollow. The beliefs you held, the identities you claimed, the purposes you pursued, all of it has dissolved into a formless nothing. You cannot go back to who you were, but you cannot yet see who you are becoming. And so you exist in the terrible in-between, the void, the pregnant darkness where everything is possible and nothing is certain. Let me tell you something that may not comfort you immediately, but that you need to hear. This darkness is not your failure. It is your initiation. What is happening is this: the ego, that conscious sense of who you think you are, is dying. Not dying in the sense of literal death, but dying in the sense of losing its absolute authority over your life. And the ego does not go gently. It thrashes, it bargains, it tries to seduce you back into the familiar patterns, the known suffering, anything rather than this terrifying unknown. But the deeper self has already decided. The transformation is underway, and no amount of resistance from the ego can stop it now. Those who try to escape the darkness, who run back toward the light prematurely, who numb themselves or distract themselves or cling to the wreckage of the old life, they do not complete the journey. They remain stuck in the threshold, neither fully in the old world nor fully in the new. But those who surrender, who allow themselves to be unmade completely, who trust the process even when they cannot see the outcome, they emerge transformed in ways they could never have imagined. The dark night is where the old self is composted into the soil from which the new self grows. It is not pleasant, it is not convenient, but it is absolutely necessary. And here is what gives me hope for you. The fact that you are in darkness means you have already had the courage to leave the light behind. You have already chosen, whether consciously or not, to stop performing your life and start living it. And that choice, that willingness to descend, is the rarest form of bravery I know. Do not try to speed through this. Do not try to think your way out of it. The dark night cannot be solved. It can only be endured. And on the other side, when you finally emerge, you will not be the person you were. You will be the person you were always meant to become. And so we arrive at the question that pulses beneath all of this. If I am truly entering the biggest comeback of my life, what am I coming back to? The answer is simple and profound. You are coming back to yourself, not the self you constructed to survive your childhood, not the self you assembled to please your parents, your partners, your society, but the self that existed before all of that, the original blueprint, the soul you were born with before the world taught you to edit it. This is the return to wholeness, and it is the ultimate aim of human psychological development. It is not an achievement, it is a remembering. It is not something you must create. It is something you must uncover. And here is what happens to those who complete this journey. They do not become perfect, they do not transcend struggle or eliminate shadow, but they become whole. They develop psychological sovereignty, the capacity to be fully themselves regardless of external validation or approval. They stop performing their lives and start inhabiting them. They stop seeking permission and start claiming authority over their own existence. They stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What is true for me?" This is your comeback, not a return to past glory, but an arrival at present authenticity. And it will not look like what you imagined. It will not earn applause from those who benefited from your smallness. It may, in fact, look like failure to anyone still measuring success by conventional standards. But you will know, in the quiet of your own heart, in the stillness of your own consciousness, you will know that you have finally come home. The process is already in motion. The signs are already manifesting in your life. You did not choose this consciously, but your soul chose it for you. Now you face the only choice that remains. Will you cooperate with the transformation, or will you resist it? Will you trust the dissolution, or will you cling to what is dying? Will you walk willingly into the dark night, or will you exhaust yourself trying to maintain the illusion of the old life? Here is what I know from decades of work with the psyche. Resistance does not stop the process. It only prolongs the suffering. The urge toward wholeness, once activated, does not reverse. It only intensifies until you surrender to it. Your comeback is not optional, but your cooperation is. Stop fighting the exhaustion. It is your body's way of refusing to participate in your own betrayal anymore. Stop judging the dissatisfaction. It is your soul's way of telling you that you have outgrown the container of your current life. Stop resisting the shadow. It is your power returning from exile, and you will need all of it for what comes next. Stop fearing the darkness. It is not absence. It is the womb of transformation, and you are being reborn. And most of all, stop waiting for permission from your family, from your friends, from the world. The only permission you need is your own, and your soul gave it the moment it initiated this process. You are not falling apart, you are falling together. Every loss is making space for something truer. Every ending is clearing ground for a new beginning. Every moment of darkness is teaching you to see in ways you never could in the light. This is not a breakdown, this is a breakthrough. This is not an ending, this is a beginning. This is not the worst thing that has ever happened to you. This is your comeback. And the universe has been waiting for you to claim it.